Hello manga and anime lovers, I'm Branch, and today I'm going to be talking about YOSHIMIN, How to Become Ordinary Episode 2. Now this episode I think was a bit better than the first in terms of letting us understand the main characters a lot more, because the first episode left me really confused and wanting to know more, and now we get a whole bunch more this episode, and I really like it. I'll talk on the main mystery of this episode, which is the coffee cup mystery, a lot more followable than the first mystery, and I was trying to solve it the entire way. I didn't, the answer was so simple, I never even thought of it. I really like that. It showed the characters of everyone involved really well. It was just really good. But that's not the main point of this episode. The main point of this episode is discussing the two main characters and what they've gone through in the past without directly discussing it. So the main character's friend, if I can just remember his name, Kengo, that's what his name was. So Kengo invites the main character and I believe Osanai over to his house to talk. And he wants to talk about what in the world happened to the main character during middle school that caused him to change so much. And I noticed this too in the first episode, that the main character is very superficial. He doesn't seem sincere in anything he does, whereas Kengo is super sincere to a fault. The main character is super fake to a fault. The basis of it is that something happened during middle school that caused him to want to be ordinary. Even though he denies it being trauma, it definitely is. You don't change this much without something traumatic happening. And it doesn't have to be like what most people think of when they think of trauma. It can be literally anything. It can just be like developing an anxious disorder because something went wrong at one point that maybe wasn't noticeable to everyone else, but for you, it particularly hit hard. Considering his aversion to solving mysteries, like at the end of the episode, he tells Osanai that he will not play detective anymore and that it was just a one-time thing. Even though Osanai reassures him that he can be a detective if he wants, he vehemently disagrees, which makes me think that he's using Osanai as an excuse to become ordinary because he probably hurt someone by being a detective or himself in the past. And so now he doesn't want to be that way anymore, so it changed his entire personality. I'm almost certain Osanai is involved somehow, but not as directly as I initially thought. In the first episode, I thought she was the main catalyst, but now it doesn't seem so, since she's not rejecting the change, but rejecting the notion that he has to change. I disliked Kengo a lot last episode, but this episode he really shows that he is a good friend, despite his faults. He really does care about the main character, and he's trying to get to the root of it all, because he can see that this is not what the main character is. It's not his personality. He's putting on a front. He's trying to become ordinary by using all these arbitrary rules and all that stuff, which is no way to live your life. We also get a bit of what I assume would be foreshadowing to something that might have happened in middle school when the main character talks to Osanai about how she got scolded by the student counselor for letting her bike get stolen, which is, what? Like, I understand being annoyed that maybe you didn't lock up your bike and then someone stole it and used it to commit a crime, but to scold someone for that is really insensitive and putting the blame in the wrong area, especially since she lost her bike and those delicious strawberry tarts, which was probably the most important part. And it just goes to show that the school systems are not that great, and it probably had something to do with the main character's drastic change. It's also interesting to see Osanai's character this episode. We don't get a whole lot on her, but the fact that she doesn't seem very comfortable around Kengo, who is super straightforward and blunt, but is more comfortable around his sister, who is a lot more, down-toned, is very interesting. And of course, the fact that she's comfortable around the main character, probably the most. I also like the sister a lot, even though she didn't do a lot. It's a really realistic sibling dynamic, and I can see myself being exactly that way with one of my siblings. Especially the way Kengo just heats up the milk. What an absolute moron. He's making the milk go bad for everyone just because he wanted to make the delicious hot chocolate. And he was talking about how to make great hot chocolate when he just read it from the back. Mark my words, it's going to be relevant to the theme of the show in some way or another. Now, aside from all that, again, great animation, great set pieces. I really liked the direction more on this episode than the first. Even though it wasn't too different, it was a lot less happening, and I hope the rest of the episodes are like this. I'm not really sure what we're going toward. If I had to guess, the season will end by figuring out what happened to the two main characters during middle school, and that's what I'm hoping for. Aside from that, not really much else I have to talk about this episode. Really good, we're really digging into the characters, and now I'm much more interested than I was before. That's all from me. Bye. Also, Kengo does have the right idea about making hot chocolate. I have figured out the technique by myself after many years of practice.